You cannot change what you're not aware of. You cannot change what you don't acknowledge. And in the big picture, we have to acknowledge something that is happening worldwide right now. And we have to finally call it what it is so we can change, adapt, create accordingly. People are psychologically at the limit or over the limit. That's a boiling point that we're seeing right now. And these boiling points are as painful as they are in the moment. They're catalysts for change. But one thing that we haven't acknowledged publicly, one thing that we haven't really said, all of us collectively, is we are in a state of war. And the reason why this is so hard to grasp for so many people is because war has only ever been depicted as something where people shoot, where there's tanks, where there's planes, bombs, right? The soldiers, armies. That's how we view war. That's how we were taught to view war. And right now, we are seeing extreme psychological warfare in many countries around the world. It varies in intensity, it varies in its expression, but it's psychological warfare from basically all countries, governments towards their people. This is what's happening. And the psychological warfare is the constant, relentless messaging, pressure, coercion. We're right now seeing, for example, the country we grew up in Austria. It was announced that starting February 1st, there will be a mandatory artificial gene therapy. Get this needle with the artificial gene therapy. Unless they do it, they won't be able to work, participate in society. There will be fines and incarceration and all that, those things. This is hardcore psychological warfare. And what we also need to understand, it isn't health officials that are being called to the stage, to the podium, that are bringing out this messaging to the people. It is created in behavioral institutes, people and institutes that are specialized in behavioral science and behavioral manipulation. Worldwide governments have contracted behavioral institutes and professionals to tailor the messaging, because what is really going on is a re-education of the public here, to put them down in a small submissive place. The messaging is tailored at that, so it isn't from a health perspective. It is to change people's minds and behaviors. And the reason why we need to talk about this is because this awareness, once we understand something, once we acknowledge and accept it, we can change ourselves, we can adapt our behaviors, we can change our mindsets, we can change our beliefs, we can empower ourselves. This is what this is about. It's not about painting a horrific picture, although the picture is horrific and it is true, but the reason is so we can acknowledge, adapt, and change. That's really what this is about. And we're seeing this depressive and absolutely a confused state in a lot of young people. For those who have not complied, for those who have not gone along with what was expected from them, they're right now under extreme pressure from their peers, from their parents, teachers, and whatnot. And the pressure for them to comply with things they don't want to comply with is so huge that we see a crushing effect on these young people, especially young people, not just, but especially the young people. And what a lot of them are considering right now is to go against their better judgment, go against their intuition, go against their natural instincts, comply. Why? Because they still believe that they can regain a sense of normalcy. And that's one thing. Part of acknowledging that we are at war. This is World War III. It's happening everywhere. What so many people are still hoping is that we will return to a sense of normalcy, that we will return to what we had before. Think of it as a balloon and finally give yourself permission to get a needle and pierce that balloon, because we are never going to return to the old normal that we all knew just a few years ago. But we have a great, amazing, unique potential to move into a future that is far, 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 far better, far more natural, far more in harmony with our natural human abilities, far more in harmony with nature itself, far more in harmony with what we feel in our hearts. This is the upside here. This was always going to happen, but we're in this period now. We're really entering the painful sector here. We need to acknowledge and accept where we are, because there's a lot of tangible changes that we will all need to make over the coming days, weeks, and months. Real, maybe drastic changes in our lives. And so the first thing is we are not returning to an old normal. That's gone. The reason why I say that is because the same powers that are now bringing down this system are the powers who have been keeping it alive for so long, whether that's the monetary system, economic system, whether that's the education system, whether that's the political system, whether that's the food supply chain, all those things, right? The same powers that used to run this system are now wanting to bring it down because they want to bring the final solution, a complete artificial, virtual reality intelligence system. And so they are pulling the plug on their own old systems because you are depending on those old systems. And because they are pulling the plug, these systems are never going to be what they were. That is over. And so we need to acknowledge that. What is this war that we're in about? It's a war for our minds, for our bodies, and our souls. And we need to understand this. This is not just metaphorically speaking. We are the engine that powers our life force. What we have is the engine that powers everything. And so if you want on this earth to create something, you need life force to be put into it. If you don't have life force, you cannot create anything. That's what these entities want, our life force into their new system. And so we need to understand they want to control our minds, our bodies, and our souls so they can basically use them for their own agenda. And that's what the war is on. And that's why we're being psychologically crushed right now, all over the place. The messaging is horrific. It's pressure. It's about dividing us. It's about turning us against each other. All of those things are happening right now, hardcore all over the place. But if you can see it for what it is, you can cease to participate in it. And you can focus your energy on the positive and on those things that we actually desire to create. So what is different in wartime? We need to shift our attention to really looking at our basic needs, food, water, shelter, those things that for such a long time, none of us really needed to solely focus on because the system provided. The shelves were full, everything was provided. You could count on this external system. We're now seeing the first major signs that this system is falling apart. Supply chains are falling apart. We are in touch with many different companies that tell us essential materials, essential products cannot be delivered, are not in stock, are back ordered, and they don't know when they're coming. And these are essential things. So there's huge holes in the supply chain. What that means is days, weeks, months, tops down the road, this is going to really translate into the grocery stores, into the most basic supply stores. So that's just something we all need to think about. How do you protect yourself? Think about that. Physically, spiritually, psychologically. You know, this is a very important thing right now. There is a worldwide war going on against the people, against our humanity, against our values and principles, against our human nature, because they want to change it, they want to modify it, against our souls. It's time to accept that this is true. People say, no, they would never do that. No, you would never do that. They would, and they are. It's a difference. Don't assume that everyone has the same set of values as you do. Don't even assume that everyone is the same as you are in terms of being a human being. And then what are the changes? As I said, meditate, begin to go to the center, connect to the Creator, connect. Hey, this is John Nolan. Thanks so much for watching. You can watch the full live stream on this topic by clicking on the link in the description.